All right, welcome everybody. It's a beautiful day out there. It's great to see everybody. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to Ron for running the meeting last month. I was traveling and I wasn't able to get here, so I appreciate you pitching in. I'm sure it was a much more efficient and exciting meeting. So now you guys have to deal with me again. Do we have any first-time visitors today? All right. Thank you guys for coming out. Great to see new faces. Do we have any first-time members here? And all of you visitors, by the end of the night, we hope to say, hey, congratulations on being new members. So anybody? Charlie's a new member. Where's Charlie? I'd heard you were here, and you're the youngest member. So, hey, we got our youngest member, guys, Charlie. Welcome, Charlie. So you all know, for all of you that are on online, YouTube or Facebook, welcome to you all as well. We appreciate everybody who's chiming in. But if you're thinking about coming down here, we got a big room full of people, so it's nice to see everybody. And it's always nice when the time change hits and we have light in the evening. Don't you guys agree? This is my favorite time of the year. I think my wife thinks fall is the best, but for me, winter's over, the sun's shining, the trees are budding, the birds are awake. You know, that's my favorite time of the year. So we're going to go through our agenda. Like you guys know, I like to zip through it. So going to go through officers' reports. I was actually asked tonight to give an update based on the stadium being down here, and the truth is there's no update. I don't have any idea. There's no information. I know that if the stadium does get built over here, you know, to our east, that will be something that will have to be dealt with over the next couple of years, but I would imagine we have a couple of years before we know anything there. That's my best update. If I ever find anything else out, I'll be happy to tell you all. So that's kind of that's kind of the best update I can give at this point. Ron Hall, do you have any, I'm sure you want to come talk about nominations.
Evening, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Ron Hall. I'm the vice president and in charge of nothing. So there you go. I want to do one thing that before we talk about election nominations, and that's Steve Hicks. Where are you? Stand up. Show your face. Steve Vane, who's been our safety director for the last almost 2 years, had to resign. He's had some commitments at work and I guess some health commitments. So Steve has agreed to take over, and the board voted and put him in place about 2 weeks ago. So keep in mind, Steve is a total rookie, so you've got a chance to get away with just about everything. Thanks, Steve, for taking that over. That was a great deal. Okay, let's talk about nominations and how they work and what's going to happen. Every year in April, we have an election. That election replaces half of the LC committee and pretty much half of the board of directors. This year, the folks that are up for nomination on the board are the president, which is Cal, and he has been nominated and agreed to stay in the position. The vice president is some jerk named Ron Haw. He's been nominated and agreed to stay. And the last guy on the board that's up for election is Craig Arnold. He's our member at large. Craig's standing in the back of the room if you don't know him. On the leadership committee, for some reason, Jim Berard has agreed to stay on as the membership chairman. Brian Rohrbaugh, who's been, is he? I don't blame him. I would be too. Brian has agreed to stay as the, stay as the director of communications, director of training. Kevin is backing off out of the job. Rich Higgison has taken over. Rich is standing over there next to Kevin, between him and Tim. And the last guy who is up for election is the director of safety, Steve Hicks. So after 2 weeks, he has to now stand up to be elected to the position. All of those guys I mentioned have been nominated. The other thing that's up is that if anyone in the room has somebody they want to nominate, if you want to nominate yourself, see myself, see Craig, Tim, or see Tim. The three of us are the nominating committee this year. We'll make sure that you get your name down for the position that you're interested in. You can see us anytime tonight. You can send the nominating committee. If you look at the last newsletter, there was an address that you can mail your request to or your nomination to. All nominations have to be in by March 24th. We'll close those out and officially nominate the slate before the election on I think it's April 17th? It's third Wednesday. No, it's the 27th again, I think. But anyway, it's the third Wednesday. We have 700 and something members now. How many, Jim? Jim's off having a beer somewhere. We need 10% of the membership to vote in the election and to be present at the meeting to have a quorum. We have also, over the past 3 elections, or 2 elections that I'm aware of, we have allowed online voting. We will be sending out a message, I believe, on the Monday or Sunday before the next membership meeting. You'll be able to vote there, and you'll actually be able to pick the names, and I think you will not be able to do a write-in at that point. The person will have to be nominated, but you'll be able to send that back in. One thing that we've discovered about the election process is It's not going to be a private vote. If you vote online, you're going to have to sign your name to the bottom so we can make sure that when you come in on Wednesday, you don't vote again. You know, so, and that is really about all there are to the nomination things and stuff that's going on with that. So I want you to kind of keep that in mind. Try and be here next month if you can. We really want, we appreciate it. We've got a great crowd tonight. We did a quick count. I think we almost have a quorum. We're only about 5 guys short. So, but to have the election and have a full quorum here, we have 700 members. 720, so we need 72 people, members need to be here to vote. So, does anybody have any questions about how all this works? Any comments? Okay, we're done. Thank you, folks.
Awesome. I appreciate all the work by the nominating committee, and I would also say, please, if you have someone you would like to nominate or yourself, come forward. It's not like that we're all trying to hoard these positions. It's more or less, you know, volunteers. We're still willing to keep going. So if you have anybody that wants to come in, please, it's not a closed group at all. We're open to anyone wanting to get involved. So please do that. Okay, David, anything?
No, I have nothing to report.
Okay. Has you seen John Steyer tonight? I don't think. Yeah. So we're still. John is on vacation, so as far as financials, things are still going relatively smoothly. I think that over the course of this year, we're going to continue to work on trying to get more members because of our location. We need more members to keep, you know, this place is more expensive than our last place. So we'd love to get more members. So if you're out there and you're thinking you have a friend or someone, it's time to invite them to come on down. I think we all love the guild here, and pretty easy sell if you can get someone interested in coming down. So keep that in mind. And that also helps, that really helps our financials having more members. Craig Arnold.
Is the green one working? I guess it is. Okay. So I'm going to report about our First Fridays events. Cal, it's a great segue from Cal getting more members. So
Too close.
So the Guild joined the Crossroad Arts Coalition. So we're on the northwest corner of the Crossroads district down here. Membership in that was pretty reasonable. It's only like $150 to join. However, we also decided that we wanted to sponsor First Fridays. And so we're a silver level sponsor down at the bottom of the page. That was $800. And we get a giant banner, 4 by 20 foot banner in the food court area. And we also get a tent down on the artist alleys. And that's one of the things that we need volunteers for, is to man that tent. We can set the tent up as early as 10 o'clock on Friday morning on April 5th on the first Fridays of the season. We probably won't be down there at 10, but we'll need people to man that tent. We'll pass out little flyers that say, "Come to the Guild." And we hope to be right at the top of 18th Street down in the artist alley, so we can just point up to the Guild building and say, "There we are, just go up there." We're going to be giving away little key rings, personalized key rings. As people come in, we'll get their name, we'll jet the names back there. They'll be personalized, and by the time they complete the tour, they'll have a key ring. They'll have the Guild logo, the Turner's logo, Crossroads logo, and the date on it, April 2024, along with their name. Something to remember us by.
And what did you say the average attendance is on First Friday?
Generally, First Fridays attracts 20,000 people. We'll be happy with 1%, and that's 200. Okay, so it would be a pleasure to have more, but our primary goal of getting people up into this building is membership. We are going to have people who are well-versed in how the Guild works to push membership. They're going to give a tour. Isn't this great? Isn't this great? We can take your money right over here to sign up. We want members. Now, secondarily, a lot of our members, you may have seen the emails going out, are going to bring in their handmade wooden items for sale. And if you sell something, the guild gets a cut to help pay for First Fridays, but the artist, the maker, gets 80%. So if you sell a box for $100, you'll get $80. The guild gets $20. Just recently, you'll see a little certificate over there by the library door. Went to the state. Yes, thank you, Jim. Went to the state, went to the city, told them what we were doing. We're a nonprofit. And they said, no, you guys don't have to bother about collecting sales tax. Just run along. And that's why it says exempt up there. So that is a selling point. A lot of the other galleries down here have to collect sales tax. We do not. And John, our treasurer, was very thankful not to have to keep track of that bookkeeping. Currently, we have 23 sellers already signed up, so we'll have some of the workbenches set up, and people will have their stuff on display. It's not going to be a typical booth where you set up and sit behind it. No, it's just going to be allow the people to walk through and look. If they like something, they'll pick it up, they'll take it over to the booth with the name tag, the price tag on there. They'll know what artist gets that money then. We also have a bunch of people signed up to volunteer to help give tours. We appreciate that, but we also need people to help do demonstrations, quiet things like scroll saws or hand tools or wood carving. Where's our wood carvers? You guys may want to be able to come down and do some wood carving.
Or sell some wood carvings.
Yeah, or sell some wood carvings. And we'd also like to have some things that people have made. Not that you want to sell it, like maybe a beautiful game table, on display. This is the caliber of work that people in the guild do. Maybe some big Antarsia, a big lion, maybe. You got something like that you can bring on down for display? Yeah, you may not want to sell it, but at least this is what you can do here. And so we're looking for those types of things as well. We're asking that people who want to sell bring their items in the week before. We're going to train the shop foreman on how to give a packet out, and make sure that if you're packet number 5, your name goes in line number 5. And that way we know you get your money that day. And we'll eventually get your money to you either by check or somehow coming into the guild real quick. So, but anyway, if you have any questions, see me, because this is kind of evolving. We find out something else, and so we change that. And we kind of are making up the rules as we go along here.
Yeah, it may take a month or 3 to
iron
it out, but I think it's pretty exciting. Good way to just engage the public.
Yeah, so the season is April through October, and every month we intend on doing something different to bring people up here to the guild with our primary goal, membership. Got to keep that in mind. So, thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks to Craig and the First Friday committee headed by Catherine. What's Catherine's last name? O'Hara. Catherine O'Hara. So thank you to that group. That's pretty exciting. Chuck, the shop is looking great. It's really set up nice. Any updates from you tonight? You got nothing you weren't trying to get rid of tonight? Okay, nothing for Chuck. All right. Brian, communications, anything? Okay, nothing to report. So, newsletter, great job on the newsletter, guys. Please, any of you all that are interested in something or working on something, you've got some pictures, you want to write a quick article, we'd love to see articles. Right, Ron? We'd love to see some good articles coming in. All right, good. You all that are online, Ron was saying how we'd love to see more articles, and we'd love to see somebody who's out there volunteering to help. We'd love to see somebody step up and do that. Don, librarian, the library looks great. I'd love to see the books on the shelves. Magazines for sale. Let me guess. 25 cents a piece, 5 for $1. Oh, take what you want and make a donation. Nick, that's about as good a deal as you can get, guys. So take a look. You know, I think I've told you all before. I used to hunt for all these magazines. I started collecting fine woodworking, and I got a whole pile of them now that everything's online now. But those magazines are great. I love sometimes to just pull them out and just look through some of the old articles. Want to remind everybody that we are on Facebook, and we have a Facebook page for the Guild, and we have a Facebook group, and there's some good interaction with people asking questions and some technique things. Where to buy supplies, where to buy wood is a common one. Please tag the Guild if you're working on things. You have an Instagram page. Nice to get a little bit of traffic there, interest in the Guild. And then we have 434 subscribers on YouTube. So we're getting up there. That's pretty good. If you're not a subscriber, go check out the page on YouTube. All of our meetings are online, and some of our skill builders are online. And we haven't had a podcast in a while, but we've got quite a few podcasts that are really good online that Kevin put together. So definitely go out there and like the videos and suggest them to your friends and watch some of the videos. I also want to plug for Tom Smoller's Papa's Workshop video page. You want to see some amazing videos like how to build that table, how he walked through it. He can talk about that later, but I love going to Tom's Papa's Workshop video channel. Chris, any announcements from events or AV or needing help or anything like that?
Also with the YouTube, the skill builders are up there. Tom's last skill builders up there and has a link to his YouTube page. YouTube, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Right now we're just over 400. Once we hit 500, there are certain features and stuff that unlock that we can add enhancements to the meetings and stuff. So please, if you haven't subscribed yet, go in and subscribe. And then the more subscribers we get, the more features that YouTube unlocks for us. So working on a lot of stuff for the AV, getting the meeting set up. Just want to remind people in the meeting here, when you have questions for the presentation or show and tell, please use the microphones so our people watching online can hear those comments.
All right, very good. Thank you, Chris. First Fridays we've talked about. Membership, Jim, you said 720. Looking to build that throughout the year. Any other announcements from you, Jim? No. Okay. The program tonight, pretty excited. Matt Nowak is going to talk about wood identification, which is a very, very interesting topic. So I'm looking forward to that program, Matt, so thank you for doing that. Any other announcements from your side, Matt? Okay. And then safety, Steve, thank you again. Do you have any announcements tonight? Come on up. I'm going to make you come up.
Hi. I just wanted to say I'm glad to do the safety director gig. Oh, sorry. How about that? Okay. So glad to do it. Glad I was asked. Thanks, Ron. So I guess if I'm officially elected, kind of wanted to put a plug in where we're going to go. Initial priorities would be to kind of rebuild or reinvigorate the safety committee. And so I may be, when I touch base with some of you, I may be hitting some of you up. Anyone who's interested in volunteering, please let me know. See me tonight or whenever. And I think very quickly here I'll be set up as the safety director so that you can email that directly and I'll get that correspondence and then get back in touch with you. Aside from that, we want to make sure that safety orientations and the schedules for that will be shored up. Trying to get my arms around that right now. And then we'll be looking again at policies and procedures. I think we need to update some of those kinds of things. And then any other ideas. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Any rough to ready announcements? Lots of classes available, so check out the website. You can sign up for that, and that is a good way to get your green card. Sponsorship, Dwayne has nothing to report. Definitely check out our sponsors. You all probably know, but we have discounts at lots of vendors around town, lots of suppliers. I think Rockler's in the house, so hey, check out Rockler, different wood suppliers, Woodcraft. I mean, really, if you buy any supplies at all, the membership kind of pays for itself. So please check out the website or the newsletter. You'll see who our sponsors are. They're on there. Please use those people and use your card. It's I always love saying, hey, got that guild discount. It's really nice. And we appreciate the sponsors doing that for us. So thank you to the sponsors. So Rich, do you have any updates for training? Come on up.
I just want to put in a plug.
Come to the middle. Yeah, there you go.
I'm not camera ready. I just want to put in a plug for the skill builders that are coming up. In April, we've got an exciting skill builder. Chuck is going to be doing a skill builder on electronic machinery and electronic motors. And in May, we've got a skill builder. Roland is going to be doing one on maintaining router bits and saw blades. So those are a couple of exciting skill builders coming up. And I could use your help. As I'm looking to possibly take over this role, if you have ideas for skill builders, please come talk to me. I could use all the help I can get on trying to come up with possible skill builders that you all want to see. That would be helpful to you. So thank you.
Not only if you want to see them, which is good to know, but if you have one that you'd like to volunteer and do as well.
Yeah, even better. If you've got one you want to do, that's even better.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
All right, now as we work through our agenda, this is a time we talk about all of our SIGs, which, if you don't know, are our special interest groups. So the first one, Hand Tool SIG, is going to be March 24th. That's led by Rob Young, and it's the fourth Sunday of the month from 2 to 4. Any announcements from the Hand Tool group? Okay, then come on down for that. Wood carving group, led by Jim and Dan. The next meeting is March 26th, which is from 6 to 8, and that's always the fourth Tuesday of the month. So, Dan, not to take your thunder if you have something special, but Dan usually says, come on down. We like power carving, hand carving, traditional carving, bird carving, folk carving, any type of carving. Come on down and somebody will help you out. Anything to add to that, Dan?
And pyrography.
Pyrography as well. Sorry about that. And some painting too, painting skills. So there's lots of things that go into it. There's a lot of, if you're interested in carving at all, it's a great way to get started in hand tools as well, because you don't need a huge shop to get started in hand carving. So my shop when I just started building it in my 20s was just a few carving chisels I did have a workbench that I made when I was in high school, but other than that, that's how I kind of got started building my shop. Laser engravers will be March 24th. And that's always the fourth Wednesday of the month at 7. Curtis is here. Anything to report?
We're going to talk about the curve of the laser beam.
So, okay.
And show up and SIG, you want to get trained and use the laser, we'll do it right after.
Okay, if y'all couldn't hear that, they're going to talk about the curve of the laser beam and how to anticipate and allow for that. And if you want to get trained, they always have a training at the SIG. Next one is scroll saw SIG, which is the next one is April 10th, and that's always the second Wednesday of the month at 7. George, anything to report? thought I saw George earlier. Nothing special. Come on down, and if you want to scroll, okay, come on down and play. That's also a great way to get into woodworking as well. It's kind of a, there's so much you can learn on that, and you can also start small. So if you're interested at all, come down and check it out, and George will help you out, George and John. CNC group led by Gary and Ed. Next one is April 16th. Ed, do you have anything you want to talk about? And make sure you come far enough this way.
The next CNC SIG will be the third Monday of April. It would invite anybody with any interest in learning about the CNC to come. And if you don't want to wait that long, send an email to cncsig@kcwg.net, and either Gary or I'll get right back to you and get you some information and try to get you going. So,
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Well, I think that clock is a little slow. 7:28. I was a little slow getting through the meeting this time, so I apologize. We're going to go right into the favorite part. Jim, come on up, and we're going to do show and tell. Any of you who have show and tell items, go ahead and get lined up, and we'll come show us what you got. This is a great time, my favorite.
We got a feel-good story here that we want to share first. Come on up here, Tim. Where's Tim? Come on up here.
Tim, is this on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had the privilege to volunteer some of my construction skills when we were doing this project here at rehabbing this building. And I know Tim is a boiler guy because I've visited his shop before. And I mean, he's a hell of a boiler guy. Anyway, I had a boiler problem because I've got an old building. And I just said, hey, Tim, can you give me a little bit of advice? I'm having problems about my boiler.
I'll do that side, you do this side.
And he said, well, I'm talking to him. And this is the part I was having a problem with. It's called the steam vent valve.
It's an air release.
Air release. It allows the air to escape your radiator until the hot steam hits it, and it closes the valve and holds the steam in the radiator. Well, anyway, it was hissing and popping and all kinds of problems. Anyway, he said, well, I happen to have some. You know, really? What are you doing with it? Well, you know, he's a boiler guy. That's why I was pressing him. Anyway, so the upshot is, volunteering here and talking with somebody, you never know where the conversation is going to lead. So anyway, he says, I've got some sitting on my shelf. I'll bring them. I'll give them to you. So he brought them in and handed me, brand new, in the box, a fistful of these things. And I said, what do I owe you? He goes, oh, nothing. I said, I owe you something. He said, no. I said, well, how about if I donate something to the guild in your name? And so that's what I'm going to do.
Well, thank you.
So I have a check that I wrote out. I figured out what I could find these on eBay for, and so this is about what I.
Okay.
So, on Tim's behalf, I'm donating this check for $100.
Well, thank you. Our most valuable resource here, while we have a wonderful facility and great tools, is our members and the assistance we can give each other. And it's so nice to go to a place where everybody's willing to share what expertise they have.
And thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
I don't know who to give this to.
Colt cast. All right. So Tom, are you first?
Put it up there,
Well, no, it's not gonna fit up here all the way over.
I mean, all folded up.
Okay? So,
So,
tell us about this.
this is a 18th century card table, or a game table is what they call them. So the original that this was based on, or several originals, all around 1770. And mine's made out of cherry. The originals, of course, were all mahogany. So,
Are you gonna expound on this a little more? Or do I have to drag this out of you?
I'm sorry?
Do I have to drag this out of you? So, every
work-
project I've seen you do for the last 3 or 4 years has been in cherry. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, because I bought a whole bunch of cherry.
Okay,
A whole bunch. I still have a bunch left.
so tell us about how this table operates.
It's fairly simple. It's got a wooden hinge in the back, and these back legs slide out. They don't slide too well. And then it folds out. And this is a picture of the original. There's the hinge. Yeah,
So is there a reason that you have ball and claw
that's
feet
the
in the
way.
back?
A lot of
caribou
them.
and
There were two different styles. One, the serpentine apron, like this one, and it varied how far out they were. And then there was the block fronts, which just has, raised flat panels, raised and lowered. But they pretty much, probably 85% of them had the ball and claw in the front and pad in the back. There were some variations where it was all four, and there's one that even had 5 legs with ball and claw, but I thought that looked odd.
So that hardware looks pretty unique. Where did you purchase the hardware from?
Ball and Ball, they make brass reproduction
Okay.
hardware. I mean, and they had different sizes of it, and it's called a card table hinge. It's got 2 pivot points on it so that it can fold out the way it does.
Okay. And what did you finish it with?
Shellac. There's a coat of dye, aniline dye to darken it immediately, and then several coats of shellac rubbed out, and then some brown wax on there.
And what's going to happen to this table? You're using
It's
it
going
in
to go
your
in a
house?
family room, and that's why I was trying to match the coffee table I made a few years back, had the serpentine apron like that, and I tried to match the color, so it's going to go in that room.
Okay. Have you used it yet? Have you played cards?
No,
with
I
it?
just finished it. I just uploaded the video today, I think, the final video. There's 9 videos of this. I started in December, so there's pretty detailed, about 25, 30 minutes each, but each step of the way along this. And I thought this was going to be an easier project after that year-long secretary, but it did give me some fits and places, so. And all the mistakes are on the videos, so.
Okay. Anybody got any questions about Tom's project? I'm always amazed at what you bring in.
I
here is just-
love challenges, and it's just a matter of taking one little obstacle, but they are very time-consuming. That's the thing.
Questions? Yes?
So the serpentine skirt, did you have a plan, or did you do?
No,
you
I
had-
did everything off the pictures, and there weren't a lot of pictures to work from. Most of them were just like that one I have there, just set at that one angle. There are some that were opened up. There's a picture on the back of one that was opened up, but it doesn't really give you a lot. And the back legs, because of the shape, the back legs are closer in than the front ones, so they're not in the same plane, so a perspective view makes, it's very hard to come up with, especially when you've got two curves. You've got the curve on the front and the curve on the bottom. And my first iteration of it, I didn't like at all. I didn't think it looked right. So I took some 2x6s and cut them different shapes. It's all on the video. And just changing, a ½ inch here or ½ inch there, and I came up with this looked better, looked closer to what was in the pictures. But it was very hard to pull that, because there's no reference on that. There's no straight line to figure out what the dimensions are. I mean, they give you the height and the width, and they don't have a lot to work with.
Very nice.
Any other questions? Yeah, what's next, Tom?
I don't know. I've got some things in mind, but one's going to be a really long project, and I just did that secretary. I don't know if I'm up for that. So we'll see. I got some home improvement things first.
You going to make the home improvement things out of cherry?
I don't know. We're going to put a hardwood floor in. They make hardwood floor out of cherry.
They make a lot of Brazilian cherry out of hardwood for
Yeah, but
flooring.
that's really hard.
Tell me about it.
I mean, dense hard.
Any other questions? Awesome project, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that in. Right here.
I can't beat Tom, but this is older than Tom, so. When I started working in wood a few years ago, my family thought I'd stop it.
There you go.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? My family thought it'd last just a month or two and didn't know what I'd do, and they have progressed. Now they bring me strange pieces of wood they find somewhere. This one, my sister brought me, we were at a birthday party, my house, birthday party. She comes in and says, here. It's just so interesting. It looks like a rose. I'm trying to decide what it is. It's a sycamore tree. Been told what it is, actually, tonight. Thank you very much. And I don't know what to do with it. It's too cool to throw away. But what do you make out of it? Nothing. You set it up on the wall. You hang it up, I guess. What would you do with it, Jim? Not firewood.
There's a dumpster out back.
I knew you were like my dad somehow. Okay. I don't know. I just can't throw it away.
Have you got any idea how this was formed?
Limb was cut off too close to the tree, and the tree started to protect itself, and I baked it for 2 hours, and it was full of gnats or little flies or something. So all those little holes.
Okay.
I don't know if the bugs help make it round or what.
And what's this piece?
I found this in my dad's barn. On the bottom of it, you can see the original cut lines. It's very, very old. I thought I'd clean it up and put it on a wall for a shelf, hanging shelf. I don't know what kind of wood it is. I tried cleaning it up a little bit, a little sandpaper on it. I put some denatured alcohol on it, and the center of it turned a darker color. So that's where the denatured alcohol was, and the rest of it hasn't been touched with anything. So any ideas on how to finish this? Not in the dumpster.
We've got our expert in dendrology around here someplace. Where is he?
Matt.
Where's
No,
Matt at?
Matt doesn't know.
There he is. Matt, can you tell us what this is?
Too lightweight. It's very lightweight.
Okay.
That's all I know about it.
Okay.
Anybody got any suggestions? She's all ears. So what are you going to do with this piece?
That one's going to be a shelf, but I
Okay.
might cut it at an angle and make that part the shelf. I don't know.
Okay.
Because I like the bottom of it. I don't want to ruin the bottom.
Boy, if this was cut with that looks like a really coarse saw that was used to cut this.
It's very old. My dad's been collecting things in that barn since before my uncle passed away, and he passed away 50 years ago. So I don't know where it came from.
Any questions about this?
I don't have the answers.
Very good. Thank you. That's really unique. I've seen that. Have you ever seen that before, Matt? That's really... Hi, Ron.
This is called a mountain bluebird. I finally got involved in it, kind of gotten rid of my pandemic funk, if you want to call it that. I started working on carving a little bit again. And this one's the first one out of the chute since about 3 years ago. So it's a bluebird. The base is trying to emulate a wood a little bit. It's actually butternut wood, but it's got a little bit of decoration to it. The bluebird was, for me, very difficult to do. There's a lot of different colors in there that you don't even believe that are on a bluebird. But I think I've caught quite a few of them in there. So that's what it is.
So what possessed you to carve a bluebird?
You know, I can't really think of why it would carve me other than what I saw in a book. Hey, I think I'll try this one.
Okay.
You know.
So, and this is a...
That's just a carved stand that I did out of, like I said, butternut, which is a wood that's very similar to not mahogany.
And the bird is...
That bird is a life-size bird.
Yeah, but what kind of wood is it?
The wood of the, the wood in the bird is tupelo, which is kind of a grainy thing when you carve it, but it doesn't have any fuzz on it, so it's a real clean cut.
So when you get a chance at the break, take a look at the detail on this where the feathers cross one another, and he's got that in 3D. That is awesome. Nice job. Any questions about Ron? Yes, sir.
I think I saw it before you were finished, and I thought those legs were wire, and I'm curious how you finished those legs, because you had to put something over the wire, right?
No, before you, when you saw the bird when it was not painted, those wires that you were looking at there were what allowed me to mount it in here, okay? And then the wires, which were a lot smaller than the ones that you saw, are then covered with epoxy, and then they're painted.
The claws.
And the claws, that's even smaller wire and more epoxy.
Okay. Wow. That's really...
And
paying attention to
the
detail.
The real complicated one there is gluing the finger or the toes on that. The straight thing here is called a tyrus. And when it comes down, you have to glue the toes on, and that's super glue. And trying to place that with super glue was, it's a pain, you know where.
Okay.
So,
any more questions?
That's it.
Thanks, Ron, for bringing that in. Nice job. Wow.
That's what's actually called mental therapy.
Next. Okay.
Dragonfly on a water lily. It's marquetry produced on the laser.
Okay. So, you got oak in here?
No, that's mahogany.
This is mahogany?
Yeah, this here is mahogany. This is cherry. And
Paduke?
No, that would be,
Purple Heart?
no. Cedar.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, cedar, aspen, and the flower is also aspen. The sun is yellow heart. Paduke's down here.
have you got a finish on this?
No, I just took it out a couple days ago from the vacuum. Had a bit of glue squeeze up through the tape, and I think I'm going to lose a little bit of the detail here to sanding to get the glue out.
So what are you going to do with this? You're going to frame this and put it up, or how's it
Yeah.
going to be used?
I was planning on framing it and hanging it.
Okay. By the way, I was in at Home Depot the other day, and I saw they sell aspen now in their hardwood section, so. And it works as a white wood really well.
Yeah, I bought this from a place called Okooch Hardwoods. I forget where they're located, but it's the only place I could find, decent supply of 16th-inch wood in exotics and common woods.
Okay. Questions? Yes, sir.
You mentioned you just took it out of the vacuum. Are there waiting periods between steps that you kind of have to observe?
Well, it had to be in the vacuum for 24 hours, I was told. I've never used it before. This is my first time, so, not really. I put it together, put the glue on the back and then put it in the vacuum and
What kind of glue did you use?
just Type Bond 2.
Hmm.
It's my first real piece of marquetry. I've done a little bit of inlay, but
Just for your information, Type Bond makes a product called speed glue. You can't buy. The only way you can get it is if you order it through Type Bond. I don't think you guys sell it, do you? You do. Awesome. Well, I've completely switched over to it because the setup time is 15 minutes as opposed to 3 hours. They put a caveat in there. You're not supposed to stress it out for 24 hours, but I have, and I can't tell the difference. So it really speeds up the gluing up process. You don't have to, you can set up a glue and go do something else, and 15 minutes later you can take the clamps off. So, and it's white glue. So yeah, I've completely switched over to it. So it's called Speed. Is it Speed Set or Speed Glue? Yeah, I bought a gallon of it and it was like $65, and a gallon will last you a long, long time. But I've completely switched over to it.
Hey, Jim, is that any different than the quick and thick from Type Bond?
Yes. Yeah. The quick and thick still is that 2 to 3 hour setup time. But the work time on quick and thick is a lot less, from what I understand. That's something we ought to do, is get some glue experts in here. Matt? Not me. We're getting sidetracked here.
Yeah, from Type Bond, he's really great. He puts on a great show, but you better be prepared for a 2-hour show. It's very difficult to get him to do it in less than 2 hours. He said he'd be much more than willing to come here and give us a program, and maybe instead of having him come and giving us a program, maybe we ought to set it up on a Saturday when we do...
or two months.
Skill builder.
Or 2 months. 1 month for 1 hour, another month for another second hour.
Well, I don't know where he comes in from, but he's got all of his travel time. Came in from Ohio. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
He's got a long drive, so it would be better for him to do it in one day. He does hand out a lot of free samples.
Awesome.
I'd be willing to sit for 2 hours. Free samples.
I have a question about the, can I ask a question about the marquetry?
Yes.
I'm over here.
Oh.
Did you cut those out, the laser, and then assemble them and like tape the back side?
Yes.
Tape the front side, assemble it upside down, it's kind of like that?
Yes. Next time, I am definitely going to tape the back side and then cover the front in, I've got a wide, low-tack masking tape used for vinyl transfers. I think that will solve the glue squeeze out, that's ruining a few of the details.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Nice job. Dave, you next. Good.
Good. Thank you, Ron. All right. How's everyone doing today? Good. All right. All right. So what we have here is we have some Junior Majestic rollerball pins. My daughter's getting married. This is my second one getting married now. So usually for the groomsmen, I'll make them a nice pin. Okay. So these are made out of resin, and it's a resin casting, and they're vertical pours. Okay, they look like this, but you don't know what you get until after you turn it. So I think that pin there, whoa, good catch, is that one right there. See how the different colors are in it compared to the round blank? And I also have some samples up here too. You can see the outside here, and you can see what it looks like on the inside. Sorry, Rockler. We're giving a resin casting demo at Woodcraft on April 13th. It's all good. I'll buy my resin from you.
April 14th, you're going to be at Rockler, right?
Yes, sir. Anyway, I did take 5 of these pins up to Alex, and I'd have him pick one of them to be raffled off at that demo. So if you go to the demo, you'll get a raffle ticket, okay? And that raffle ticket number will be called out during that demo sometime, okay? So we're going to show how to do block resin casting. We're going to show how to do vertical casting. I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes, and when that timer goes off, that's when we start. I'm not going to do a lot of talking. I'm going to do a lot of casting. I'm going to be using for the demo a Luminite Fast. That's a 7-minute cure time. So you work fast compared to using slow, which is 12 minutes. Your hair stays darker color longer. So I'm just saying. Let's see. Does anyone have any questions on these? Yes, sir.
Any tricks to turning the resin?
No, you can turn with the Easy Wood tool turns, but I usually use a spindle gouge and a carbide cutter. It's just like regular wood turning.
How many of these have you made over the
Blanks or pins?
pins?
Not as many as I made blanks. All right, here's a little something for you real quick. On the bottom of these, they have a number on it. So this is number 82. So I do a casting, I make 7 of these blue ones. So this is my 82nd recipe. I have over 100 recipes. So that's a lot of blanks. So I have stuff to keep me busy for a while.
You have 100 friends that you can give these to?
Not yet.
Okay, work on it.
All right. Anyway, the reason behind the recipe behind it is in case I want to make this again, I won't be able to make it exactly, but I'll have the color combinations that's going to go in it. How many grams I used, how many teaspoons I used, what was the brand name, and the technique of pouring. It's fun. Do you have to do that? No. Have fun doing it. Just pour it and go from there.
Okay, so take this pen right here. How much cost do you have in that pen?
Actually, these Junior Majestics, the pen components cost $46.
Okay.
Just for the components. You have another $20 added with your epoxy to glue the tubes, your paint, your sandpaper, your Abernet, your wet dry sandpaper, your polishing compounds, the gloves you use so you don't booger it up. So about another $20 Q factor. So about $67 to make this one. Normally these pen kits only cost $15, but these for my future son-in-law's friends, so I thought I'd do something nice.
Questions?
Yes, sir.
How much lead time do you need for
I'll talk to you after the show. All right. Any other questions? So if you have a time, take a look at it. You get to see what it looks like before. It's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you get until after you turn it what's inside. You ever had one of those cherry chocolates inside with the little cashews and you don't know what's in there? But those are really good. It's like little cherry right there. All right. Yes, sir.
Display box.
No, I did not. This came from Levenger. I got the box over there. It's like $100. Great way to display your pens. You can cover it up, take it to a show, display it at some woodworking stores. He doesn't have that one. Anyway, any other questions?
You're going to be at the First Friday?
My daughter's getting married that weekend, the weekend right after that, next day.
That's not an excuse.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh, I may. It depends what's going on. Yeah, no, it ain't happening.
Okay.
Not this month.
All right.
Following month for sure.
Dave?
Yes, sir.
Reminder also, we have your skill builder from your resin casting on making pen blanks on our YouTube.
That's right. It's the resin casting for making pen blanks on the Skill Builder on our guild website. So we try to do something different. Every time we do a demo, we always try to bring it up to the next level. That's why we're doing vertical castings instead of the regular block. So if you have time, come by Woodcraft. It's only an hour. Yeah. So.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
One more?
Got one more.
No, you got a half an hour to talk about this. Here.
I didn't know that I was going to be doing this. Kongs wanted me to come down and see the club. I used to belong to the club back in the late 80s, early 90s, and I got into bird carving and did that for, I don't know, 15 years or so, and then I got into making guitars. And made my first guitar, geez, I think in about 2000, year 2000 or so. Anyway, I'll try to tell you what it's made out of. Maybe that would be a good place to start. My buddy Joe, he's got a big collection of wood. So he invited me over one day, and while I was there, I said, hey, that looks pretty nice. Maybe I could make a guitar out of that. And he said, take it and do it, so I did. So this is sprouted hackberry, sides and back. The neck is catalpa, or butternut, I think they call it. The fingerboard is made out of Osage orange, or hedge tree.
Let's put it up.
And the centerpiece around here is Brazilian
Cherry?
No.
Brazilian walnut?
No. Well, it doesn't matter. Anyway. But you can buy guitar kits online through StuMac and one or two other companies. One of the companies, Allied Instruments, went out of business, but StuMac's still around, so you can buy anything you need to do that with. The top is Sitka spruce. I've used Sitka, I've used Engelmann, I've used cedar, Port Orford cedar. I don't know what this bridge is, some kind of a rosewood, Brazilian rosewood is what I was trying to say a while ago. That was just laying around the shop, and I just kind of customized it a little bit. Used bone for the nut and the bridge and the pins.
So how many guitars have you made? Got any idea?
I really don't know. I think this is probably number 18, maybe 17
What
or
do you
18.
do with them?
Well, I've given some of my kids, got a couple apiece, or one or two apiece, and I've sold a few, and I've got 3 or 4 at the house, including the first one I ever made. The first one I ever made, I bought a book, And according to this book, you did everything by hand, you know, hand planes and everything. They taught you the old-fashioned way. You had to bend the wood on a hot piece of pipe, you know. The wood is like, the sides are like 90 thousandths. The back and top is somewhere between 100 and 125 thousandths. So the sides are pretty thin, and you just sprinkle them with some, well, first I soak them in water. I put boiling water. I got a trough. I set it in there for 15 minutes, one side at a time. And then I got a hot iron that I've made, and I just start bending. I also have a form that's shaped like a guitar, and it's got 3 light bulbs in it, 100-watt bulbs. And you plug it in, and it gets pretty hot. It gets real hot. And I use that you know, for the most part. Then I have to go to the hot iron to get it exactly like I want it, you know, because it always has spring back, you know, quite a bit.
What kind of finish do you put on this?
That's lacquer, but I have used shellac.
Okay.
French polish. I think you know what that is.
So do you play?
I do play, but I don't have a belt for this thing. I don't know if I'd have to sit down somewhere.
Grab that stool behind you.
I'm not noted for...
the first Friday.
I'm not noted
Hey,
for my...
Cal, take that orange mic over too.
Some people tell you I'm old good, crazy as a loon. I get stoned in the morning, get drunk in the afternoon. Kinda like my old blue tick hound that just lay around in the shade. I ain't got no money, but I damn sure got it made. And I ain't asking nobody for nothing if I can get it on my own. You just leave this long-haired country boy alone.
Thank you.
That was a great ending to our show and tell. That was awesome. Thank you for doing that, and thanks for playing and singing. That was outstanding. We're going to take about an 8-minute break and grab some refreshments. I'm not even sure. We've got raffle over there, so if you want to go check out, we've got some things we need to raffle over there. So have a quick break, and we'll see you in 8 minutes, or 7.5 at this point.
Hello, my name is Rick Chandler, and welcome to another of the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's ongoing series of machine safety videos. Our discussion today will cover your introduction to the safety rules and requirements of the various bandsaws owned by the Guild and how to safely operate these popular pieces of equipment. Keep in mind that this video is meant to cover the safety concerns of this machine and not a complete training program for the use of the bandsaw. When in the shop, please direct any questions about using these or any other machines to the on-duty shop foreman. He or she is there to act as your main resource to help keep you safe and to provide advice and assisting you to successfully complete your project. You should always remember, the most important of safety concerns is to wear OSHA-approved safety glasses with side shields at all times while in the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild shops. Your regular glasses are not approved for use when participating in any shop activity while you're at the Guild. When using any of our bandsaws, it is doubtful that the noise level would necessitate hearing protection, but if you feel more comfortable wearing earplugs or earmuffs, by all means do so. One caution on hearing protection though, Guild rules stipulate that any hearing protection may not have the ability to receive any type of broadcast music or podcasts. Failure to follow this requirement may result in losing your shop privileges. The bandsaw has a thin blade in the form of a continuous loop. It is useful for cutting curves, resawing, and cutting thick material. Before turning on the bandsaw, make sure that the blade tension lever is in the on position and that the blade tracks with the gullets tracking in the center of the tires when you rotate the wheels by hand. The teeth of the bandsaw blade should be pointing down toward the cutting surface of the saw. The blade should be 1/32 of an inch from the roller bearing guide behind the blade. There are guides both above and below the saw table, and both should be checked for proper adjustment. Side guide bearings or blocks should also be adjusted to 1/32 of an inch away from the sides of the blade and should be behind the teeth on the blade. If you aren't sure what the tolerances are or how to set them, check with the shop foreman, and they can help you the first time you're going through the process. Make sure that the upper and lower wheel guard doors are closed and latched before you turn on the bandsaw. Set the upper guide as low as possible to your workpiece without touching the wood you're going to cut. This guarantees that the blade is completely covered without room for a finger to accidentally slip under the guide. The maximum distance for the guide to be above the stock should not exceed 1/4 of an inch or as low as possible if you need to clear a fence mounted on the bandsaw. Any bystanders should be instructed to remain away from the right-hand area of the saw and not be closer than 24 inches from you while you're operating the saw. It is especially important to keep any bystanders away from the right-hand side of the bandsaw. Broken blades have a tendency to fly out to the right and may cause very serious injury to bystanders standing on the right side of the machine. To power up the bandsaw, ensure that all doors and covers are in place and latched. Then, first turn on the dust collector that attached to your saw, and once the dust collector is on, power up the bandsaw, first making sure that there are no objects touching the mounted blade. Make sure that the equipment has reached full speed before you approach the machine to begin cutting your material. Also remember, the 3-inch rule always applies. That is a 3-inch buffer on all sides of the blade. Your fingers, hands, and other body parts should never be allowed to become closer than 3 inches away from a moving part of the machine. It is also important that you not be wearing jewelry or loose clothing. If you have long hair, be sure that it's tied back so that there's no possibility of coming loose and making contact with any moving part of the machine. Never open any covers of a machine while it is running or starting a machine before any and all covers have been properly secured. Keep your fingers and hands away from the path of the blade. Never use your thumbs to push your workpiece toward the blade, even if you're pushing from many inches away. Hidden voids in your material may suddenly cause the wood to jump forward through the blade at seeming lightning speed, causing serious injury or amputation. When you're cutting small or short stock, use push sticks, feather boards, or other appropriate safety devices to control the workpiece as you make your cut. Do not force a cut. Allow the blade to dictate the rate of cutting. Forcing a cut can and will probably break the blade on the bandsaw. Don't cut stock that is not flat on the bottom without holding it in an appropriate jig. As an example, when cutting cylindrical objects, you should use a V-block as we're demonstrating here. When working with long or cumbersome material, set up a roller stand to support your work as it enters and leaves the saw. It can become impossible to support these materials without the help of some kind of support system. When making cuts with the table at an angle, clamp a block to the table to keep your stock from slipping off. While resawing wood, it is okay to start your cut when standing on the in-feed side of the blade, then letting go of your workpiece, circling around the machine to the outfeed side of the table, then pulling your material through the blade. Again, make sure you are drawing the wood through the bandsaw only as fast as the saw is able to handle the cutting the stock. If you're not cutting all the way through your stock, don't back the stock away from the blade without turning the machine off first. Turn the machine off and wait for the blade to come to a complete stop before backing out of a cut. If you're making curve cuts, you should plan your cut to prevent twisting or binding on the blade. Also, plan on where you will need to use push sticks or where it may be necessary to install a fence to keep you and others safe while cutting your stock. Each blade width has a minimum radius that is able to cut. We have charts posted on or near each bandsaw that show the minimum radius that a particular blade width can cut. If the blade does break, shut the machine off and stand clear until everything stops. Once the machine is stopped, unplug the saw from its power source and immediately notify the foreman on duty. They will assist you in changing the blade and getting the machine up and running properly again. You should never stick an object into the blade to stop the machine. Let it stop on its own or use the brake if the saw has one. The bandsaw produces a very fine sawdust, and this is sometimes not all captured by the attached dust collector. Dust depositing on the floor around the machine can cause the floor to become extremely slick and creates a significant fall risk. Pay attention to this and sweep or vacuum the floor when necessary. Don't be responsible for yours or someone else's fall injury. When finished using the machine, turn off the bandsaw and wait for the blade to come to a complete stop. Turn off the dust collector, check inside the machine and vacuum out any dust. Take a few extra moments to clean up the rest of the machine and the floor around where you've been working. This is Rick Chandler for the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. Thanks for watching and be safe.
Cool things that we work, I mean, everybody loves wood, the different types and identify it. Sometimes wood is just amazingly beautiful. I think I did my newsletter on special board, my newsletter articles on special boards. So I'm excited that Matt's here to talk us through how to identify wood. And Matt, take it away.
Talk to me, Matt. You're muted.
Okay, now you can hear me. I can hear me too. Okay, this everybody, come on. This is a program that I was promised that I was going to do. I never promised to do it, but I was promised that I was going to do it many years ago. Yeah, and it started out, the former programs director, he said, "Hey Matt, we really need somebody to give a talk. Can you give a talk that you gave years ago when we were over there at the church over there in Westport?" And I said, "Sure, I can give that talk." I even still had the 35mm slides. And over the period of the month, somehow that ended up morphing into, Matt's going to give a talk on how to identify woods. And everybody was super disappointed that night because I gave a really nice talk, I thought, on the trees of Fort Leavenworth. And I don't know how many years ago that was. A long time ago. One of the problems was, in order to be able to show you how to identify woods, you got to be able to show photos of things. And I don't have enough of photos of wood, nor do I have the capability of taking those photos, those high quality photos, because it takes a 10x lens to be able to do it all. So in order to do that, I would have had to have taken it from other sources. And I didn't even ask for permission to try to use those sources. And so that kind of just lingered. But recently I've discovered a thing called the Wood database. And there are multiple wood identification databases out there. I really like this one. Let's see, is it going to come up? Can you see that? Well, I can see me, but I don't see this up here yet. Here it comes. Okay, great. And I do have that book here. And in fact, I'm donating it to the library. My wife says we get too many books at home. So this will go into the library. Now, when you go to the database, it's fun just to let's go to wood filter. Okay, now I could automatically just go, let's say, here to H. This guy's got hundreds, okay? First thing that comes up here is hackberry. And it's fun to play with this thing. I could do it at home, but you're going to see advertisements for rodent poison. You're going to see advertisements for cleaning your toilets and everything else on this thing. So excuse me for all of those things. But a tremendous amount of information. What is called hackberry, sugarberry, what the average dried weight, Janka hardness, all kinds of good information on it. And if you know what kind of wood you have, or you want to have something to do with a particular type of wood, this is a good database for that. For instance, he talks about the color and the appearance of the wood. It is susceptible to blue-gray fungal staining, which is a good thing because it results in spalted hackberry, like in the guitar. I've got a lot of spalted hackberry I've made projects out of. Like it says in here, it is definitely often used in place of ash and is often confused with ash. The grain is usually straight, occasionally interlocked. Interlocked grain, when the grain goes like this here, it's like elm. You can't split it. The end grain is ring porous. I'll go into some of these things once I get further down. But in other words, he has an awful lot of good information here per individual piece of wood. Something like 6,000 types of wood. Rot resistance. This is, hackberry is rated as non-durable. You don't put it in contact with the ground. It's definitely perishable. Susceptible to fungal discoloration and insect attack. There you go with that, the spalted hackberry. Very easy to spalt your own hackberry. Leave it in a pile outdoors in the humidity, and eventually, very quickly actually, quite a bit of it is going to become that beautiful spalted. Some of it is going to go too far. Spalted is just a fancy word we use today for rotten wood. It has generally good working characteristics. One thing that I really love about it, and you understand the guitar, responds superbly to steam bending. It's one of the preferred woods for making acoustic instruments, though even though it's a beautiful wood, I'd still prefer soft maples. Soft maples are your traditional woods that have all the beautiful quilting in it. He talks about allergies and toxicity, sustainability. Every time you cut down walnut in the woods, walnut will not grow in the shade of anything. If you had a field of sunflowers growing, walnut would not grow in that shade, in the shade that's produced by the sunflowers. You can use sunflowers to force walnuts to grow straight. You get the walnuts started, and then you come in with the sunflowers, and it forces them to go look for the sunshine. And so you can, if you're going to grow walnuts for timber, that's one trick. You could also plant alder, you can plant black locust, you can plant other things that will force the walnut trees to grow straight, but you never want to get to the point where the walnut trees are topped over by whatever else is growing around them. And I point that out to say that if you have a forest with a lot of walnut in it and you just simply cut those trees down and don't do anything else, almost for sure in this part of the country you're going to get hackberry. That's almost for sure the tree that's going to come in, unless you're kind of unlucky, because hackberry does have commercial value. If you're kind of unlucky, you're going to get box elder. I love box elder for carving, for wood turning. It's a great wood. But box elder, if you look at the twigs really close, usually you don't have to look at them closely, just look at them. They're green. Even in the wintertime, the twigs on box elders are green, which means they continue to photosynthesize all winter long. They have a tremendous advantage over all other trees that are trying to grow around them. And so they really are a weed tree in that respect. They don't provide very much food for wildlife, but I really love the wood. So, I mean, you got to make all kinds of choices when you're out there. But if you want to regrow walnut, you have to cut everything down and start from scratch. Okay, that's just on one thing there. So let's go. Let's carefully go. I'm going to back up. I had no problem with this at home, but boy, I'm telling you. Okay, wood filter. Now, I'll go through hundreds or thousands if I do that. Where was I at? I spent hours doing this at home. There you go. Here's where I went. Wood identification guide. That's what we're here for, right? And look at that page there. You got the wood filter. That's what we were just on. If you say, okay, I think this is ash, you better come up with a better answer than that, because there's a whole lot of different kind of ash. Or I think this is oak. Well, you better come up with a better one than that, because there's about 60 different oaks. But if you think you know what it is, go to the wood filter first, put in there ash or oak or walnut, whatever, and that will give you all that information that I was just showing you. It'll show you the flat grain, and it'll show you the end grain, and give you more information you can even imagine that's available. But now if you want to go to the wood identification guide, let me show you the other ones too. World's strongest woods. How do you determine what is strength? Come on, go up. Wood allergies and toxicity. A lot of really great information there. How to dry your wood at home. Differences between hard maple and soft maple. Distinguishing between red oak and white oak. That's probably the examples of woods that I'll get most often when people come in and ask, what is this? And they want to know the difference between red oak and white oak. As a forester, in school, studied dendrology, how to identify woods, and you had to get that end grain. So guys would carry their pocket knives or their razors or whatever, and they would try to sharpen that end grain, but they would do it like this here. Somebody slicing the thumb. By the time the sample pieces or the test pieces for the exam got around to me, they were full of blood. That ain't oak, man. That's redwood. So you got to really be careful in doing that kind of stuff. And you have your 10x, your 10x lens with you. Today, you use your iPhone. It's so easy. Just iPhone, put it on camera, blow it up, and you take a picture of it. And then you just go to an app. Boom, you got it. I wonder if they're doing that in college now. Holy crap, that make those exams so much easier, wouldn't it? Wow. But at any rate, you learn how to identify these 50, 60 different kind of oaks in the classroom. You get out in the woods, you know what? Logger doesn't give a darn whether it's shoe-mired oak or bur oak or chinkapin oak or nothing else. All he cares about is it red oak or is it white oak? And so all of that learning that you did, all that skill that you had, when it comes down to the actual trees in the wood, it doesn't make a doggone bit of difference, because all you want to know is this one has a certain value, that one has a certain value. When you're going out and you're buying wood in a store, you're buying white oak, you have no clue whether it was, actually Quercus alba, which is white oak. It might be bur oak. It could be any of 20 or 30 other oaks that are in the white oak family. Same thing with the red oak. You're buying red oak or black oak. There is a whole bunch of different ones in the family, and the loggers don't really care. They're just looking for straight trees. They cut it down and saw it up. These are black oaks or red oaks. These are white oaks. There is really no way to tell by the wood, because all of those determinations, those 60 different varieties of oaks, are determined by their botanical features: the flowers, the leaves, the fruits, the bark, the twigs, all of those things. They have nothing to do with the wood, other than the fact that they grow the wood. And so none of the determinations on how to identify species was made based on the wood. It's all based on the other characteristics of the tree. That makes it very complicated when a guy brings in a piece of wood and says, what is this? You have the leaves? You know, do you have the flowers or the fruits that might have been on that tree? I could really identify it that way, but if I just bring in a chunk of wood, especially a flat sawn piece of wood, and the ends are all junked up and it's dirty, it's found wood. That's about it.
What's the name of that wood cut again?
The wood database is the name of the one that I like. Once you start looking for these things, you'll find a whole bunch of different ones out there. But I like this guy's. It's called the wood database. He's with the International Wood Collectors Organization. If you remember, we had all how many tons of wood that we sold from the guy that was collecting wood. He made flutes. And most of it came from New Zealand and from Australia. That's acacia, extremely dense, really hard wood, and we sold a crap load of that stuff. But he was a member of the International Wood Collector Society. So let's go to Wood Identification Guide. Come on, open it. There you go. First of all, confirm that it's actually solid wood. Somebody might show up with a table and say, what kind of wood is this? Well, chances are pretty good it's had some kind of a finish put on it. That could be alder that just has a cherry finish put on it. Probably not. I know, in fact, it is. I shouldn't say I know, but you go to the factory, you go to the stores and buy the wood. It might not even be wood. It might be plastic, like you have flooring. You go to Home Depot, there's a lot of cool-looking wood flooring in Home Depot. There ain't a bit of wood in any of it. It's all plastic. You know, so first of all, make sure that it's actually wood. Chances are if you bring it in here, it actually is wood. Can you see the end grain? And I would say that of all the times that I've been a foreman and someone is, or even when I'm not a foreman, somebody says, what is this piece of wood? I would say about 100% of the time, no one has a perfectly prepared end grain for me to look at. And so it's just a guess. And when you have the lighter colored woods, there are so many that look alike. He was saying hackberry can be substituted for ash. Yeah, it can. There's a lot of things that can substitute back and forth. And just to have the flat grain and the ends are all junked up, it's really pretty much of a guess. And especially, I can bring in a piece of walnut, and there's probably no one in here that would say that, yes, it's a piece of walnut, because maybe I have gone south of I-70 and I've selected a walnut that was cut. And there is a difference between trees that grow north of I-70, only on walnuts, north of I-70 and south of I-70. The walnuts that grow south of I-70, generally speaking, have greater sapwood. The loggers will downgrade any logs that are harvested south of I-70. They will pay a better price for logs that are harvested north of I-70 because that's standing timber. Okay, once a tree is down, then they see what they've got. They see how much sapwood is there. But generally speaking, I mean, you're right on the I-70 line, it can go either way. But if you're significantly below or above I-70, the logger is going to know it's either got more sapwood or less sapwood. But I can take that piece of wood, I can take that sapwood of walnut, and it's just got a beautiful cream color to it, and it might just as well be maple. It might just as well be, I mean, it does have a distinctive grain if you know what you're looking for, but it doesn't have the brown color that you're looking for. There's so many factors. You can see the picture in here. That's MDF in there. But isn't that a beautiful grain? So, and if you put a strip around the edge of that wood, do you know that that's not a solid piece of wood? A lot of furniture is not solid wood. I don't remember what the rules are, but there are rules in the industry for what can be solid wood, and they are really very tricky on how they can fool you on, you know, what is. And that's assuming that they actually are following the rules. I mean, they might just be, you know, telling you, hey, it's solid wood. It could be veneered. Is it painted or printed to look like wood that goes into the flooring and stuff like that? Look at the color. If it's a raw piece of wood, it's going to make a big difference. If I brought in a piece of hedge that had just recently been cut, it's going to be a really nice orange color. But if it's been sitting on a shelf someplace for several years, like I've got some, it turns a really beautiful dark reddish brown color. Now, as soon as you start polishing it up, it removes that. It goes pretty deep into the wood, but it'll go back to that golden color. There are 3 species in North America that produce that color. There's hedge, or bois d'arc, the bow wood, Osage orange. That's all it's such a popular wood, it has many names. There's magnolia, has very similar color, and black locust has very similar color. How do you tell the difference between all 3 if you have 3 boards that came in at the same time? Well, if you can scratch some of the wood off of the hedge, the color is actually water soluble. You can take, and I have done this, I've gone to the lathe and I've taken a chunk of hedge, put it on there, just made a lot of shavings. Taking that, I'm taking over to the Kansas City Art Institute. One of the girls over there, she loves to have this stuff because she uses it as a dye for dyeing wool and things like that. You can't do that with magnolia, and you definitely cannot do that with black locust. But they all 3 have the same color, basically. The one thing that's interesting about black locust, you put it under black light, and it glows green. It actually is iridescent. It's one of the only woods that we have around here that actually has an iridescence under a black light. Speaking of black lights, have you ever, this is terrible to say. When I worked up at Fort Leavenworth, the guys from pest control, they also, well, they had to take care of men's restrooms and stuff like that. We went into one of the clubs, and you don't want to walk into there with a black light into a men's restroom with the lights off. You will be so shocked. That place is just going to glow. Everything that anyone has ever touched is glowing with phosphorus. Anyway, back to wood. Is it weathered or does it have a patina? Cherry has you let cherry out long enough. In fact, one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to put cherry so it's partially in the sun and not in the sun, because it's definitely going to have 2 different colors. And the only way to get that out of there is to sand the heck out of it. Another thing that you can do is you can fume wood. In fact, in his stuff, I spent probably 4 or 5 hours going through here, and I don't want to do that tonight, obviously. I've already told you what you need to know in order to identify wood. That was in that first section. You just go there, figure out whatever wood it is, boom, and you go through it and you can do it. So I'm just having the other fun stuff here. But you can take ammonia, and I do it with household ammonia, and it only works for white oak, not for red oak. But a test that you can do, a surefire test that you can do, and he has it in here, between white oak, any white oak, but especially Quercus alba, and any red oak or black oak, is you can put some sodium nitrate on there. I think it's sodium nitrate. Anyway, it's the N that's in there, and the nitrogen. And it will, in a very short time, it will turn the wood on white oak a very dark color. You can almost ebonize it. It won't do that with black oak. Ammonia basically is nitrogen. And so you just fume it. You put it in a container. I'll take a small box made out of white oak, put it in there, put some marbles in there, and put the ammonia in there in like a Tupperware type of container, close the cover, let it sit for a day or 2, and it turns that white oak the most beautiful brown you ever see. Stickley did that back in the early 1900s. He was over in England, and he went to some of the stables or someplace like that, and he discovered, oh, this beautiful brownish colored wood, and it's all white oak. How'd that happen? Well, in the horse stables, of course, the urine turns into ammonia, and it fumes the wood, and it turns into that beautiful. So he commercialized that process, and so it's so easy to do. Don't buy the technical grade ammonia. That stuff will kill you if you inhale that. it's a lot long, not a lot longer, it takes a little bit longer to do it with household ammonia, but it definitely works. Now, don't take those pieces that you've got and mix it with some other pieces, after you take it out of there right away. You got to let those fumes disappear. You got to let it outgas. I did that one time. I took the first pieces out, put it next to some others. Next day came back, all the rest of the ones in the area, because of the outgassing, made all the other ones turn brown too. I didn't really have any complaints about it. It's what I was trying to do anyway, but you got to be careful with the fumes.
I thought you was going to say you don't do this.
No, it's so much easier to buy ammonia in a bottle. He gets really into technical stuff and different kinds of grains. What kind of wood is that right there? Curly, right? Maple, yeah. But which maple is it? It's a soft maple. It's a soft maple. There's a very big difference between soft maples and hard maples. One of them is in the hardness of the wood, of course, but there's not that much difference in the hardness of wood. You can easily use any of the soft maples, and I'm talking about red maple, I'm talking about silver maple, I'm talking about big leaf maple. You can use any of those soft maples for almost anything that you would do with a hard maple, except you don't make bench tops, you don't make butcher blocks, and you don't make flooring out of soft maple. It is definitely softer, and it will ding up faster than hard maple. Hard maple has beautiful bird's eye figure in it. There's an area up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Indians own several counties up there, and like 99% of the bird's eye maple in the world is produced in that area up there. And it's a real fun place to visit. You can get chunks of hard maple. But if you're making a violin or if you're making an acoustic guitar, you don't want to use hard maple. Too hard to bend, for one thing. Soft maple is a whole lot easier to steam and bend, and you'll get that quilting like you see there. Big leaf maple probably has the best quilting that you can possibly get. I'm so fortunate to have a son who lives out in Portland. I would drive out there or fly out there, and I know some primary sources of wood that I can go to, and I can buy big leaf maple that come right out of the sawmill. And oh my God, that stuff is like a candy store when you walk in there. It's really dangerous. I thought, well, these people don't know too much. I can probably go in there. They're just wood people. What the heck do they know about tone wood? Because I want to make some musical instruments. Holy crap, man! A piece of wood just 2 or so inches thick, by about that long and about that big, 50-something bucks. They'd been down that street before, and they saw me coming. Sold me a couple of chunks of the wood, but it's most highly figured stuff. If you want highly figured wood, that's a maple for making acoustical instruments. Make a trip out to Portland, and you can buy it directly from one of the wood mills out there, and come back with some really beautiful stuff. Or you can go to the northeast and you can get red maple, and red maple is very similar. It has that beautiful grain like that quilted grain. And again, over in Europe, that's where all the fiddles first came from, they have, I don't remember which maple it is they have over there, but it's a soft maple, it's up in the mountains, and it just happens to grow alongside the spruce. Well, guess what all the tops are made out of? Spruce, but you gotta have quarter sawn. So when I go out to Portland, it happens to be, there's a lot of spruce out in Portland area. So I go out there and I'll go into the, again, primary source and buy quarter sawn, which I go to a different place and they just have it stacked up as lumber. So I buy the quarter sawn spruce, bring it back here to our resaw and resaw quarter sawn spruce for guitar tops. I'm not getting into how hard is the wood, but they do take a 0.444 steel ball, and when you can press it into the wood halfway, how much pressure it took to press it into the wood is how they determine hardness. But which part of the wood did they put it into? If you bring in a piece of wood, which part of the tree did it come from? Is it the sapwood? Is it the heartwood? Is it quarter sawn? Is it flat sawn? There's so many different things, that you go by. It's a crapshoot on that kind of stuff. There's black locust under a black light. Okay, I want to get to the end grain stuff. Because the end grain is the critical part. Oh, I know where it was. Yeah, now I know where it was. Just got to find it again. Anyway, somewhere in here he has things, hardwoods and softwoods. And that gets really into the super details. I apologize for not being able to find it again. If I had done this a couple of months ago, I would have forgotten everything that I've seen. So I spent the last couple of days going through here, figuring I would remember it. You did see it? Where? Oh, look at the end. Oh, that just tells you look at the end grain. No, there's a, here it is, hardwood end grain anatomy. Click on that. Now you get some really cool stuff. And this is what you got to have in order to be able to positively identify a piece of wood. That won't come up. Come on, baby. There you go. This is where you get into all the science, vessels, parenchyma, rays, wood fibers, monocots, and all that kind of stuff. This is what you go to college for a few years to understand what all these words are. If you're lucky, you went to a school where they actually taught you Latin for a couple of years in high school, so it makes it easier to understand what the heck the teachers are talking about when you get into college. So you'll see terms like this is good quality end grain. If you bring me a piece of wood and it doesn't have that quality on it, there ain't no way in heck I can tell you what it is. It's just a guess. And 5 or 6 people can give you 10 or 12 different species that they've guessed at what it might be. You have got to get this quality. And you've got to have very, very good quality chisels or razors or something in order. And you notice that some of those pores look like they're hollow. It's a huge difference in the difference between white oak and red oak. This would be red oak, but if I had just recently sanded that, those pores more than likely are going to be filled with sawdust. They would more likely look like there were tyloses that were filling the pores of white oak. I would love to sell you a bunch of red oak pores were clogged up with sawdust at white oak prices, and love to see you take that red oak or make a boat out of it, or make a cask for wine or whiskey. You'd be screwed.
Why wouldn't you want a boat out of red oak?
Why wouldn't you? It'd be a submarine. I don't care how much that wood would swell; it would never stay afloat. So not only do you have to have a good quality cut, but you also got to make sure it's cleaned out completely. It's got to be. None of that stuff ever comes to us as foremen. It never comes in with that kind of a quality. So I always feel so bad. Yeah, I've got a degree in forestry. I'm supposed to know this stuff. There ain't no way in heck I can give you the answers on stuff. with the stuff that I see coming, I have no idea why it turns blue like that. You cover it in blood, then I would recognize it. Yes, that looks familiar. Okay, that first batch there, and that happens not to be oak, that happens to be European ash. That's ring porous, obviously. Diffuse porous, obviously. Now there's a hybrid between ring porous and diffuse porous. Butternut. Butternut is actually otherwise called white walnut. It's Juglans cinerea. Yeah, Juglans nigra is black walnut. Juglans cinerea is white walnut or butternut. And that does look like walnut grain. It's that hybrid. The pore arrangement makes a big difference. Here's gum. It's obviously diffuse. And I encourage you to go through this website and learn a lot of this stuff. I'm going to call it quits here in just a few minutes. But you see those pores there? You notice there's also lines that run up and down. Those are parenchyma cells. And there's also rays that are there. And rays are very important. For instance, if you give a quarter sawn cut to white oak, you get all the antique furniture, a lot of pianos and stuff like that are made out of quarter sawn white oak because they get that beautiful ray pattern. I mean, there's so many tricks you can do if you know how to cut wood, but it depends on the wood that you have. Those white areas around those pores are not just the outside edges of the pores. Those are very specific identifying cells that with a 10x lens, you would know that identifies that particular species. And sometimes they're in a circular pattern around it. Sometimes they're in a wavy pattern around it. Sometimes they're in a triangular pattern around it. There's no way to see that in a bunged up edge grain of wood. You have got to have it this clear, and you've got to be able to get down to a good 10x lens to be able to identify those tiny little differences. Not only that, but those parenchyma, those lines run up and down. Sometimes the lines are pretty even like that. Sometimes they're bolder on one. The difference between the maples, hard maple has bolder rays like that. Soft maple has lighter ones. Just little things. You go through this guy's book. Here's coffee tree. I love coffee tree wood. Those trees grow straighter than a telephone pole in the woods. I cut down a couple of them at Fort Leavenworth. I mean, those trees just absolutely perfectly straight. And I don't remember how tall it was, but I remember sitting on the stump because my buddy had a much bigger chainsaw than I had. He cut the tree down, and he's limbing it and stuff like that. And he was probably 40 feet up the log, and I'm sitting on the stump, and I could hear every sound that he made on that log. Talk about the most perfect tones coming through that log. And it's like, oh man, this is going to make some really great tone wood. But again, that's how you would have to identify coffee tree, because if you brought in a flat sawn piece of wood, I'm not going to know the difference between that and ash. I could probably tell hackberry because I've seen enough of hackberry. I could probably tell it. I would know it's not oak, but there's so many other ones that it could possibly be. I'd have to look at that end grain, and then I say, okay, yeah, it's coffee tree. Here's one of my favorite as far as the end grains go is elm. That is so distinctive of elm. And whenever you see that really beautiful wavy grain and the end grain of wood, it's always going to be some kind of elm. In fact, it's called ulmification. It is so distinctive to elms. It's actually, ulm, U-L-M, is Latin name for elm. So it's ulmification. Okay, I'm going to call it quits there. I can go on. You saw the first part. All you got to do is click on that. There's thousands of woods that are in there. If you think you're close to it, just go through it.
Okay, so what makes white oak weather resistant opposed to red oak?
I really don't know what makes it weather resistant. I know what will keep it, I know what will allow it to hold water. The fact that it has the tyloses in those pores and it clogs those pores up. But that's true only of the heartwood. You can find sapwood in white oak where the pores are not totally clogged up with the tyloses. And so if you're going to make wine kegs, or if you're going to make a boat out of white oak, you want to make sure you get the heartwood. It'll probably still work with sapwood, but you want to make sure that it does. You don't want it to leak a little bit. You can literally blow bubbles through red oak. You can take a piece of red oak several inches long, put it in a glass and blow on it, and you'll produce bubbles. Now, I suspect that the reason why it holds up better is some of those chemicals that are in the wood itself. When I was going to school, we visited a charcoal plant. That's where they just haul in huge amounts of all kinds of woods. You know, up there in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, it's going to be mainly maple. And they, under low oxygen conditions, high heat, they cause the wood to gasify. And the end result is the charcoal. But in the meantime, hundreds of chemicals. They didn't really care about the charcoal. This charcoal plant, it's not worthless to them. They were selling the charcoal. They were making far more money off of the chemicals, the cracking process, just like cracking oil, cracking petroleum. They would crack the wood, the chemicals that came off the wood. So when the people in Montana, like relatives of ours, have a couple of filters in the house, air filters in the house, because the forest fires have been so prevalent up there, in order to protect the kids, there are so freaking many chemicals in wood, and they are really not very helpful to you. Some of them smell pretty good, but they can really do you a lot of damage. Some of those chemicals are probably what make white oak more resistant to rot than red oak. That's my guess. Any other questions?
Is there any of the woods that are more resistant to rot than hedge?
Black locust is extremely resistant to rot. When I was a kid back in Trenton, visiting my buddy out of the dairy farm, that dairy farm had been around since way before the American Revolution. And I remember some drunk driver came down and didn't make the curve and bent over a corner post on the farm. And my buddy went out there and he says he remembers his grandfather said that post had been there way before him. And it was absolutely solid. It had been in the ground for probably a couple of 100 years, and it was black locust. When I was the forester at Fort Dix, we sold thousands and thousands of posts, black locust posts, because everybody knows they make the best. Not only are they totally resistant to rot, but remember Lincoln, the stories about Lincoln splitting a post? That's what he was splitting, was black locust. It splits extremely easily, and it is completely resistant to rot. Whether it's more resistant than hedge, I don't know. I don't know how you would test that. Yes, sir.
Matt, how do you cut the area so you get that beauty that you wanted?
The first thing I would do if it was me, if I had the blade with me, I would start with a forest cross-cut blade on the table saw, and I got a really good clean cut with a forest table saw blade. Forest makes the best blades. You're going to get a really good clean cut. That probably will be good enough for most. But if it's not, then you go to the tool room, get yourself a really good sharp chisel, and just skew down there and get a really perfectly clean edge. But then you got to make sure you blow that out, especially if it's an oak or something like that, or if it has open pores, you want to blow it out with some air, so that you're definitely looking like tyloses, those little bubbly things inside of the pores, and not sawdust. But that's what I would start with. It's a really good cross cut.
I appreciate it, guys. Wood's a lot of fun, obviously, you know.
Well, Matt, thank you very much. This is me. I'm right over here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Of
God.
course, as you know, the tradition,
Oh.
we get the mug shot. Thank you very much. A token of our appreciation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, have a great night. As usual, be careful going home. Feel free to go see the projects. Some of them are out there. Feel free to help clean up, and just have a great night. Thanks, everyone.
I had a friend that was an auctioneer, and I was at one of his sales, and somebody says, "Oh, well, what kind of wood is that?" And just with a straight face, he turns around and says, "Tree." And they go, "What do you mean?"
A special thank you to our guest today, to the Guild's Leadership Committee, and to all of our information about the Guild, upcoming classes, and events. Please visit our website kcwg.org. You can also find us on social media by searching for Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. And remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications.